Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Kimberly Nicole Arrington, who disappeared on October 30th of 1998 from a CVS, or right in front of that, in Montgomery, Alabama, where she had gone to get candy and a drink. And that is about all that is known. At least there's no information at what I'm looking at right now on her having been seen talking to anybody. All they know is that she went there at about 4 p.m. and she never got home. Her parents went and looked for her for several hours before reporting her missing. And initially the investigators thought that she had just run away because of her age. Apparently they tend to say that when a teen ends up missing, oh, they're probably just out with their friends or whatever it is, and wait for 24 hours and she'll probably come back on her own. If not, call us, that type of thing. And so she didn't return, and afterwards they were like, okay, maybe this is indeed a kidnapping case. But there is no evidence, it says here, of foul play. Now, apparently Kimberly didn't really like to leave the house normally because she suffered from severe allergies, and therefore she preferred to stay at home. On the day she went missing, she wore a gray Bugle Boy shirt with a collar, light blue Levi's jeans, white Reebok sneakers with gray trim, an emerald ring with 2 diamonds on each side, and a double heart ring set with a diamond. It says here she had a small surgical scar on the left side of her abdomen and her ears were pierced. Her nicknames are Kim and Kiwi. She was described as friendly and well-mannered, and she enjoyed children, music, dancing, and computers. She was planning her Christmas shopping on the day of her disappearance, to which she spoke to her father about. And she attended Jefferson Davis High School's 10th grade. Last thing it says here that her mother died in 2005, but her father is still alive and searching for her while her case remains unsolved. And that is all we have right now. So we don't have a lot to go on. And that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case using the tarot. We're going to start off with the Tarot Mucha, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Tarot of the New Vision, which is the one that shows the other side of the coin, so to speak, on each card. I'd also like to note that it's quite stormy today, so if you're hearing anything in the background, then that's probably the wind. Now, as usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about enough cards on the table, we'll stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, as you saw, a whole bunch of cards fell out at once, and that was immediately enough, and actually more, to fill the table. So we're going to take a look at what we've got. We're starting off with the Hermits, followed by the Knight of Cups in reverse, and then we have Strength in reverse, which is interesting. I think this is talking from the perspective of whomever she encountered during that day. Maybe somebody who had some issues, possibly somebody who had previously sequestered themselves from society, and then also really only focused on themselves, because the Knight of Cups is somebody who tends to only focus on their own feelings, their own emotions, and I think they may have been up to no good. And let's see what else we have. The Strength in reverse, so they're kind of losing strength to control themselves. I feel like that's what these 3 cards are saying. And then the next card we have immediately after that is the 6 of Swords, and you know what that means. That means going places where you are basically led. And I think in this case, I think it's more of taking other people places where they don't want to go and where you want to go. It's followed by Temperance in reverse. So possibly she may not have been the first person that whoever this is had encountered and taken along. I think this is somebody who does this regularly, or did this regularly in the past, and may not have been caught. What the purpose was of taking people, I don't know. We might find out a bit more about that in a moment. But in any case, as I said, the 6 of Swords and Temperance in reverse. So we're losing our temper, and we have this need or some type of thing about taking people along with us to places, I imagine, where they don't want to be. Next row, we have the Star, and the Queen of Swords, and the 4 of Pentacles. All right. So there is somebody shining bright here, and it's in relation to this Queen of Swords who is fairly practical with their finances. So maybe it's like this beacon that they head for whenever it is that they go places, and there is this person there who basically calls the shots and who has a very practical mind. Also, the Queen of Swords is often very cold, so this almost seems like they take whoever it is that they're interested in to this person whom I guess will reward them or something about that, and who I guess is in control somehow. Oops, sorry, bumped the table there. So that kind of sounds like trafficking, like that. Like there's always some place where people are taken, I guess, where they are further distributed from that point on, or somebody decides what happens to whom. That type of person, I think, is whom we're encountering over here on the second row. So there are some words that are falling here. Quite possibly we're having some arguments with this person. Maybe the person that brought them there didn't quite bring the right type of person, whomever the queen was interested in having. Perhaps this Four of Pentacles is also pointing towards them only really wanting a certain type of person brought to them, and that's why we're now having a conflict here with the Five of Swords, followed by the Ace of Wands in reverse. So it kind of looks like they were brought to this person, and this person was not in agreement with whomever it is that brought her there, and then there was an action that followed, which was, I suppose, their initiative, possibly as a result of this argument, possibly doing something rash because of it, in like a fit of some type of emotion, anger possibly. Maybe things just got worse. The little stack that I have here off to the side, we start off with the King of Pentacles, somebody who's fairly practical. Then we have the Five of Cups, not having much, Five of Cups is having options but not really wanting to look at them, or just feeling a loss that you kind of don't want to let go of. We have here, this is the Hangman, but in reverse, so not wanting to look at any other perspective, followed by the Ten of Pentacles. So let's see, King of Wands over here, possibly somebody who likes to make money off of whatever it is that they're doing, and they are I guess upset by this loss that they feel, that they were not able to bring whoever it is that they brought Kimberly, I suppose, to this person, that they were not willing to take them off their hands. That's kind of what it looks like. And they're also not willing to let go of this idea that something needs to happen, or that there's no other alternative, basically. So maybe at this point we have a confrontation between this person and Kimberly, and she might be like, well, if they're not interested in taking me, why don't you just let me go? And they're like, well, there's just no other options here right now. I don't want to do anything else, and probably bad things are going to happen. And he's really only focusing on his own future there with the Ten of Pentacles. So purely thinking about the resources that he would then be missing if they were to go that route, possibly also thinking, well, if I walk away from this, then eventually I'm going to have to let go of whatever it is that I've built up over the years, by people being able to trace them down based on Kimberly's description and all that sort of thing, that they would then have to own up to their actions. So they're not really willing to do that. They're not willing to change their mind, basically, is what we're getting with these four cards here on the side. Okay, so they've brought Kimberly to a person who said, no, I don't want this one, and now they're thinking, what shall I do next? In any case, they're definitely not going to return her, at least not under her conditions. They want to do their own thing, and they don't want to be dissuaded from whatever it is that they've got planned, because they feel like that would mess with their future outlook. Let's see what happens next. Oh, that one flipped. Next, we have Knight of Wands in reverse. Okay, so we're taking some pretty harsh actions and possibly trying other people, or because we see here like a caravan in the background that they're charging towards. They do not appear to be trying to attack, but they're also not doing the right thing because it's in reverse. So possibly they're like, okay, well, if this person doesn't want to take you, I know a few other people that'll probably take you and that ask less questions. Like that type of action, I think, is what's happening here. So maybe a second option that they had in mind is what they're currently exploring. Oh, and then we have 8 of Cups. So we're not walking away from anything, just like with the stack over here, not really looking to let go of anything. We have a struggle here, which I think might be them actually fighting. This may be the moment where he's trying to hand her off to other people, and there is a struggle that ensues. Maybe she's struggling against them, trying to fight her way to freedom or something along those lines, but they're not going to let her go very easily. Oop. Okay, then Knight of Cups again. Are they really thinking about their own emotions? This is a very selfish person, and even though there are people in the background that are trying to get their attention, that are doing things, that are living their life over there. There's this woman washing her hair, there's this guy trying to hail them, and they're just kind of ignoring them and only really focusing on their own things, staring straight ahead, not interested in anything other than whatever it is that they want done, and to soothe their own emotions, I think. That one. We have the 4 of Cups, and that's really not seeing any other options at this point. So according to their own emotions, there is only one outcome, and they're definitely not looking to try anything else. There is a Pegasus flying at them over there in the sky. Now, they don't seem overly interested in the Pegasus, but maybe they're like ignoring the cup because there's something more interesting out there. And the Pegasus kind of reminds me of the Knight of Swords. Tends to also be flying, and I think I have a deck where they are actually on a Pegasus as well, so it kind of reminds me of that card, and that card is all about hasty words and quick thinking. So maybe they're choosing to ignore any options other than what it is that they want. They don't see any other options, but maybe they're also trying to think of things to make it better for themselves, I think is what that means. Okay, Knave of Chalices, so that is the Page of Cups in reverse, and they're looking at what looks to be some type of starfish or something made out of what look like roses. I'm gonna have to turn around and take a closer look at that. Yeah, that is odd. I think they are shells actually, but they kind of look like roses in the way they were kind of like gathered together like that. Almost seems like the places where people tend to gather to put like flowers and candles and that sort of thing when somebody's gone missing, and they're trying to draw attention to that, like a little remembrance thing or a wake, that type of thing, and almost like they were there to see it, but they also didn't care because they were still focusing on their own emotions, and I guess they weren't surprised. Normally the Page of Cups is like a surprise, and in reverse I would call that a negative surprise, but I think this is more them focusing on their own emotions again. Maybe even twisting it around somehow, like they're standing around and they're like, oh my god, look at all these people that show up for this person, they don't even know her and nobody cares that way about me, that type of thing. So very selfish in that sense. 6 of Cups in reverse, possibly thinking about all the times in the past when they could have used that type of support and they didn't quite get it, or they're trying to ignore their past. And here we have the 7 of Swords, also in reverse, possibly telling themselves lies or telling other people lies. Also noticing that these swords appear to be made out of wood, so at least they are brownish, so I guess they are kind of wooden. So they're also not able to do too much damage with that. They may be going soft on themselves, that type of thing. Like how you have people that tend to have all sorts of issues that they could solve for themselves, but if you then point out like, oh, you could try this, you could try that, then it's like, oh yeah, well I can't do that because of XYZ reason, and they're basically removing any sort of blame or responsibility from themselves and putting it on other people's plates like that. That's kind of what's coming to mind when I see these wooden swords being carried off like that. It's like they're just trying all sorts of excuses to make themselves the victim, or at least not the one who is responsible. Like they may even be thinking like, okay, well, yeah, I don't really have too much to do with this because, you know, it's just a business and I didn't do anything to her personally. I just brought her to this other place. So we're still really looking at the perpetrator in this case, but I don't think at this point that Kimberly is with them anymore. He's made a drop off somewhere, probably with the caravan people that we saw over here, and after that they just stopped caring. So what happened to Kimberly, because right now we're just looking at the perpetrator, but what happens to her next? Okay, switching back to the Taramucha because this one doesn't want to give a card right now. And there's one. 10 of Wands. Okay, so we're carrying something to completion here. And this kind of makes me wonder if she was maybe sent to people who were looking for somebody to be like a worker or a maid or something, someplace far away, I imagine. The wands do have little green leaves on it, so there's almost like a potential for growth there. So it's like she may have been transported somewhere and being forced into a new type of existence, which is definitely hard. The Fool and the Two of Cups, I think, in the background. Yes, Two of Cups. Okay, so I'm thinking that she at some point just decided to lay low and see what happened. Meanwhile, not try to cause any trouble with the Two of Cups there, just trying to go along with whomever she came to be with, and possibly just trying to make the best of the situation that she found herself in. It's also fairly far away, I think, because we're looking at a mountain range over here, and over there we see a pretty big field with a distant tree, which kind of reminds me of how they are pretty far from anything else. Maybe they try to become friendly with some of the people there. Not much cards are wanting to drop right now. Let's go back to the other one to see what happens next. Okay, we got two of them over here. Devil in reverse and Justice in reverse. Okay, so whatever it is that's happening over there, they're not really willing to sign up for whatever type of ties they're trying to connect her to, but also Justice in reverse pointing towards a lot of injustice being done. Maybe she tried to break free, which is what this card might be pointing towards. There appears to be fire, etc. in front of the people there that are connected to chains, so she's trying to avoid that, and also some creatures as well that you don't want to run into. So maybe just trying to back away from all of that, but not being quite successful with that as well because Justice is in reverse. We do see here a what looks to be a couple of women with a child in a basket, which might be a reference to that Bible story. Which one was it? The child that was hidden in the reeds is one, and I think somebody else got sent down the river in a basket. May have been the same person, I'm not really sure, but it kind of reminds me of finding somebody who has been willfully let go of because they couldn't stay where they were at the time. So maybe they tried to run away and tried to like knock on a few doors to try and get some help from people, but they were all like, no, we're not going to burn ourselves on this type of thing. Go back to wherever you came from. I don't want to have anything to do with this, that type of thing. She may also not have been able to speak the language very effectively, so she may have been transported somewhere south, I think, south across the border, and people there are just going, well, no, I don't really want to have anything to do with this, so please leave. And because she probably couldn't speak the language, they weren't able to even figure out what was going on and weren't able to help her any further. That's kind of what these cards are trying to say to me, I think. So she may have tried to run away and that was not successful. So what happened next? Okay, that one. Ooh, there's a lot actually. Okay. 3 of them, but first this one. Oh, 4 in other words. We have here the Hermit. Okay, so now we're trying to hide, I think. We're trying to hide from the world, and they are actually standing on what appears to be a globe, and there is a snake right behind them that isn't quite within view. I think they're like almost following that star that they've got, and while being conscious that there are people chasing her that she needs to be very careful with. Like there's snakes everywhere. We do have some victory here, but we also have the Fool, and then there's a 4 of Wands in reverse, and the 5 of Swords. Okay, so there is some betrayal here. Okay, so this looks like she found some people who she thought were friendly, were trying to help, and she kind of went with that. Just whoever friendly face appeared first, she kind of went with that, and they pretended, I suppose, that everything was fine. Mostly for outward appearances, because you can see people there in the background dancing around as these 2 in the foreground cheer and pretend to be happy. But then we have the 5 of Swords. I'm thinking that they are planning something against her in the meantime while she doesn't even know it. And there is actually a ruin of a building or a small town in the background. So these lies have led to destruction. I'm guessing they turned her in after she tried to escape. Let's see. This is the next row right here. All right, what happened after that? Whoops. Okay, a lot. Again, a lot of stuff happened. Okay, so bad decisions being made. These are possibly the initiatives that you just took. Then we have the 3 of Swords. All right, 3 is a crowd, so somebody has a connection. We have the Tower here. This is probably the moment where the knock came on the door and they came to collect her, and she's like, oh my god, no, this is exactly what I didn't want, and it's a disaster. And then there's 2 cards on the floor. I'm gonna grab those. Hang on. It's this one. And this one. We have another Queen of Swords. Maybe the same person or something similar to the Queen of Swords that we saw earlier, who is also represented over here on the back of this throne. Although this is the King of Swords, again with a child in the background. That's interesting. Which reminds me of Solomon, the King Solomon, who had to make a decision about the child that 2 mothers claimed. I think in this case it's a person whom is there, whom she's being brought to make a decision on what's to happen with her. And you know the story of King Solomon and the child. I imagine that it is not a positive story there. And also made in cold blood, this decision, because there's a lot of high sword energy. And also the people around them are just kind of letting it happen because they respected this person so much, I imagine. At least what these cards are trying to say is that due to them running away like that, which they weren't supposed to do, they weren't very happy with that, and they did not excuse it. That's what that seems like, and particularly because of the King Solomon reference coming on so strong. I think that the result was not a positive one, but are we ever going to find out what happened with her? Are we going to find anything of Kimberly? Any sort of evidence, traces? Anybody coming forward? Eight of Wands. Okay, Eight of Wands is normally like a communication card, new activity card, and I think in this case, if we get any communication at all, it's probably going to be incomplete or inconclusive, wrong or purposely deceitful, maybe. Like maybe there are people asking questions or foreign authorities, that type of thing, trying to get informants to talk about this case, and other people like it and are just getting the wrong type of message, not really getting anything concrete out of them. That one. This is the Queen of Wands in reverse. Okay, so somebody might be actively trying to dissuade people from looking into these things, because the Queen of Wands is very willful, and in this case she's up to no good. So possibly there are people that are trying to hide any information about her, and I imagine others like her, because I'm pretty sure she wasn't alone based on that first row of cards that we got with this guy or person who apparently did this sort of thing a lot. So I'm guessing they're really working against releasing any sort of information. Let's see if we can get some final cards on the matter. That one. Yeah, the High Priestess. Okay, so they are able to see beyond the veil. As you can see, they have like a book in their hand where they know everything. So I'm guessing this person, whom is aware of all the things that are hidden from society, they are actively hiding it from people. We also see the moon above her head, and usually the moon also hides things. So I'm thinking that this High Priestess, whoever this Queen of Wands is somebody who is pretty high up in these types of organizations, these types of groups, and possibly a collective of these types of people. Like there's just a certain wall that you cannot get through, a wall of silence, a wall of disinformation that hides the information and the facts from other people who would like to know more about these missing people. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see anything of her. If she really did go down there, then they're actively trying to dissuade anybody from looking into it, and they're certainly not going to willfully give any information, it looks as though. So that is what I'm seeing for Kimberly Arrington. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you want to subscribe, that's even better. In any case, I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.